Hakadosh, good evening. Masechet Moed Katan Daf Yomi 13a1. Yeah, 13.1. Okay, so 13 Yud Gimel Amud Aleph says Saram Ozen Bechor. What happens if a person came and he cut the ear of a Bechor, which means you have a Bechor, and on the Bechor there was a cut in the ear. So now what happens is that having this cut, it makes it a balmum. So the Gemara, it makes it a defectuous animal. So the question is, Kansu beno acharav, do they make a knas, a penalty, a fine to the son afterwards, in order that he's not allowed to do shechita? Mishumu isura doraita, because of the isur of doraita of placing a mum in the bechor. So the imtin salamar, now if you're going to tell me macharav dolo vet kochavim met kansu beno acharav, let's say a person comes and he sells his slave to a goy and he dies. Remember, there's a halacha leolam bahem ta'avodu, which means that once you have a slave, an Evet Kanani, it's yours forever. You have an isur to free him. Now, what happened was you sold him to a goy, so you ultimately you went and you freed him. Now, do we make a knas to the person, his son, afterwards? Because every single day you're taking him out of the mitzvot. Remember, in Evet Kanani, the second that you take him for yourself, what happens? You convert him, and he's chayav mitzvot like a woman. Obviously not like a man, because if not, he's going to be doing tefillot and he's not going to be serving you. It has to be like a woman, right? So he says over here, what's halacha over here? Do we say that if a person is mechaven melachto b'moed, which means he has kavanah to do his melachat during chol moed, and it's not going to be kayam, so therefore what's halacha? Gavra kanis rabbanan. Did the rabbis make a knas on the person? The guy died. So what are you going to make a knas for? Or maybe mamona kanis rabbanan. The rabbis made the knas, the penalty on the mammon, on his money. This is the money. At the end of the day, even if the guy dropped dead, but the guy's still here, meaning the money is still here. So Amalei, when he said, we already learned it. If you have a field, right, which was, you're taking away the kotzim, the thorns, on Shemitah, in order to prepare it for plowing and for planting, you're allowed to plant it on Motzei Shavit. Nitaiva, if you put fertilizer and therefore it became appreciated, oni daira, or you put the animals there in order to fertilize it, loti zara, there you're not allowed to fertilize, you're not allowed to plant it on Motzei Shavit. So says Rabbi Yosef Chanina, we already have a Kabbalah from our rabbis. Hetiva, if somebody's going to come and he's going to make his field better, umet, and then he dies, benozor, his son could plant it. Almas, you see, they only made the knas for him and not for his son. They only made the knas for him and not for his son. Abai says, Niktina, we also have a Kabbalah from our rabbis. Imagine right now a person comes and he was mitameh his taharot. Taharot is food which is supposed to be eating with kedusha. He came and he was mitameh otam, and then he died. They didn't make a knas for his children afterwards. My tama, what's reasoning? Because a damage which is not recognizable is not considered a damage. Here, what's a damage? It became tameh. Can you see it's tameh? A person cannot see it. If you're Darizal HaKadosh or somebody that's holy, you can look and you say it's tameh. But you weren't able to do that. You weren't able to see it. Yeah? So he says, only for him to mean the knas and not for his son. We are on the Mishnah, Yud Gimel Amud Aleph, 13a1, the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, En lochim batim avadim be'emal letzorech hamoed. You're not allowed to purchase on chol hamoed houses, servants, or animals unless it is for the necessity of the moed. Or for the seller. Now it's not for chol hamoed, but the seller needs what to eat. So since he needs what to eat, he doesn't have, so he's allowed to start selling and you're allowed to buy it from him. Says the Gemara, asked Rabba from Nachman, Sechar peula she'en lo ma yochal mahu. What's the halacha with regarding to schar peula that he doesn't have what to eat? Meaning, is it permitted on chol hamoed to work a melacha for a poel, for a worker that does not have what to eat, in order to pay his workers, and therefore he's going to have what to eat with tzorech hamoed? Okay, meaning, was the heter only that he should have money for himself, or even in order, right, to do the melacha mamash? That's what we're saying. Right, to do the melacha mamash, or is it only permitted to come and to do the mekach umemkar, as they say, to buying and selling, but not the mamash you're allowed to work? So Amalei, so they came and they said, Tanina, we already learned it in the Mishnah. All letzorech hamocher shalom yochal. What is it coming to include when it says it's for the necessity of the mocher that he doesn't have what to eat. So says the Gemara, Latu Yaman, Lav Latu Ischar Pula. We're not talking about Ischar Pula for a poel, even though he doesn't have what to eat. But it's not only just Stam Mekach Umemka, which is buying and selling. It's a mamash for working in order to get something. So Amalei says, Lo, Parushe Kamefarish. It's actually coming to explain that which we said, Letzorech HaMocher, which means that it's only coming to say that only if he doesn't have what to eat. So it's not that he's mamash allowed to come and start working. He's allowed to do buying and selling, which is like the easy work. It's not mamash, heavy duty work. It's buying and selling. That's what he's allowed to do. So Abaya comes and he asks the following question from Mishnah. We said you're not allowed to come and write a shtar chov and moed. Remember, you want to lend out money, and the guy doesn't believe you. So now, if you're not going to write him a shtar chov, a document that you owe money, he's not going to lend you the money. So what happens? You're allowed to write it on chol moed. You have nothing what to eat. You're allowed to. What does it mean? What does it mean you don't have what to eat? What is it coming to include? We're not talking about that you're coming and you're writing it down. So Shema Mina, that is a good proof actually from the Mishnah that Be'emet, you're allowed to write as a sofer, right? Basically, you're writing these documents, debt documents, and that's considered going to be permitted, and there's no problem whatsoever on Chol because you do not have exactly the sofer himself, because he doesn't have what to eat. Motiv Rav Sheshat, so Rav Sheshat comes and he asks the following question. Chachamim come and they say, there are three people that they are craftsmen, tradesmen, right? That they are allowed to do melacha on Erev Pesach until Chatzot. Remember that on Chatzot, on Erev Pesach, you're not allowed to do melacha. Usually on Erev Shabbat, you have until Mincha Ketana, but on Erev Pesach, you have until Chatzot. Okay? So it says here, so it says over here that there are three of them. Chayatin, Saparim, and Kovsin. Chayatin are the ones which are, they're doing the tailors. Saparin are the hair cutters, right? The barbers. And the Kovsin, the ones which are doing the laundry, right? The launderers. Okay? Chayatin, Chayatin, why are they permitted to do it on Erev Pesach? Because a hediot, a simple person, could do it normally on Chol Moed. People that come from Minat Hayam or they came out of jail on Chol Moed, they're allowed to cut their hair and they're allowed to wash their clothing during Chol Moed. Because since you have a special heter, so they're allowed to come and do it on Erev Pesach, which is lighter than Chol Moed, because Erev Pesach is lighter than Chol Moed. So says the Gemara. So now the Rav Sheshat is going to explain his question. If you're going to tell me that it's only that you're allowed to do work if you don't have what to eat, you should permit everything. What? Sometimes it happens. The guy doesn't have what to eat, and then he's going to need to work in order to eat. So says the Gemara, right? So because of that, he says, Rav Papa comes and he asks on this, so what? So also so therefore, you're going to come and you're going to say, you know what? It's going to be permitted to come and start building on Chol Moed as well, on Erev Pesach, right? Why? On Chol Moed, if you have a wall, which already learned this, if you remember, we said that if it's going to be tilting you're allowed to actually come, knock it down, and you're allowed to build it again. Why? It's a sakana. Well, you're going to leave it like that. So because of that, so start permitting all type of building on Erev Pesach as well. Because since there's a heter way of doing it on Chol Moed, so do it on Erev Pesach without any problem. So Ravina is going to ask, and according to this also, you should permit any sofer to write whatever he wants on Erev Pesach, right? Without any problems. Why? You're allowed to write a shtar kiddushin, get, or a shovar. Kiddushin is to get married. Get is to get divorced, right? And shovrin is a receipt, right? That means you're allowed to write a divorce or a marriage certificate or a shovar, which is a receipt that you got paid back. You're allowed to write these things on Chol Moed. Huh? But rather Ravashi comes and he says, Moed Arba'asar Karamit. How are you coming to ask a contradiction from Chol Moed to Erev Pesach? Erev Pesach is Arba'asar, right? Is Erev Pesach. Are you coming to ask a contradiction? Moed Mishum Tirchahi. The reason why is Moed is going to be a sur on Chol Moed to do all these things is because of Tircha. So in a place of loss, the rabbis permitted you to do so. Arba'asar is because of Tzolech Yom Tov, which means on the 14th, we didn't want you to work on Erev Pesach to prepare for Pesach. Meaning the Tzolech Yom Tov, so anything which was necessity for Pesach, for Yom Tov, Shar Rabbanan, the rabbis permitted. Meaning the Lav Tzolech Yom Tov, whatever was not necessity for Pesach, the rabbis did not permit. Mishnah on the bottom of Yud Gimel Amud Aleph. Says the Mishnah, En mefanim mibayit lebayit. You're not allowed to transfer right, different utensils, right, or objects from Chol Moed, from one house to another house. But you're allowed to take it from the house to the chatzer, to the courtyard. You're not allowed to bring utensils from the house of the uman, from the trades person on Chol Moed. Right, because if you're going to suspect that maybe they're going to come and get stolen, then you're allowed to come and take it to another chatzer. You're not allowed to take it to your house, but you could take it to another chatzer. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. In the beginning, the former part of the Mishnah, you said, en mefanin is mashma whatsoever. Klal, notsoever, nothing. Okay? And then all of a sudden you come and you say that you could? What's going on? Because the Seifa you said, you could have mefanin the chatzer achere. What's going on? Abaye says, no. Seifa atan lebayit shebachatzer. We're talking about in the Seifa where you have a bite in the chatzer, which means the Mishnah is talking about that inside the bite, the bite is inside the chatzer, right? And therefore he comes and he says, since there's no torach and it's b'tzin'ah, it's private, it's going to be permitted. However, from the house to the chatzer, another chatzer, which is derech Rosh Hashanah, is going to be asur because everyone sees you. They see, what are you crossing the street? Where are you going? That you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to bring utensils from the house of the uman. Papa says, Badiklan Rava came and he checked, and he said like this. And he says, Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah, you're not allowed to bring utensils from the house of the uman. We have a contradiction. You're allowed to bring utensils from the Bet Uman of Bishen, so even though you don't need it on Chol Moed. So we answered, it all depends. The 14th and Chol Moed. On Chol Moed, it's asur because of tircha. So therefore it's asur. On the 14th, you're allowed to. Why? Because it's necessity of Yom Tov. Whatever is necessity of Yom Tov, you're allowed. If by tema for you can answer another answer. They're both Chol Moed. It all depends whether he believes him or he doesn't. If he believes him, so then they didn't permit you to come and to bring the utensils. Why? Leave it there by him. But if you don't believe him, and all of a sudden the guy's going to steal it, and then it's going to say, "What are you talking about? I don't have anything of yours." So then you're allowed to come and you're allowed to do it. You give him a bet, 13b. So ask the Gemara, Vatanya mevin kelim. Right? Sorry, this is a benichuta. This is a proof to what we just said now in the second answer. Tanya mevin kelim mibeta uman. Right? As we learned in a right that you're allowed to bring kelim from the house of the uman. Kegon, for example, kad mibeta kadar, a jug from the house of from the place of where they made the jugs. Kos mibeta zagad, a cup from the place where they make all the glass, which is tzorech hamoed. Avalot semen beta tzabah, not the semen, not the wool, from the place where they dye it. Velo kelim beta uman, and not kelim from the house of the uman. And if he doesn't have what to eat, right? He's going to give him the schar and he's going to place it by him. He's not going to be ma'amin. He's going to bring the bayit semuchlo. And if he's going to be choshesh, shema yignevu, maybe that's going to be stolen. If he's not going to believe him, so he's going to bring him betzina inside of his house. So says the Gemara, you only answered mevi'in kelim beta uman. Right, but in our Mishnah, it's written en mivi. So you say that both of them are talking about Chol Moed, but the heter is talking about in Pesach because it's obviously en omamino. But what about molichin? Molichin kelim lebeta uman is a kasha. If you can't bring it, so koshken you can't take it there. So you're right. The first answer is much better. That we're talking about one of them is Chol Moed and one of them is the 14th of Nisan on Erev Pesach, and it's talking about they're both on Chol Moed. Mishnah on Yud Gimel Amud Bet 13b Mishnah. Mechapin et haketziot bekash. You're permitted on Chol Moed to cover, right, with kash, with straw, te'enim, figs which are put to dry in the field in order to protect them from the rain. So you have figs in the field. You're going to put, all these things on top of these straw in order to protect it from the rain. Rabbi Yehuda says, afna abinotam. Even you're going to be permitted to do me'abinotam. We're going to see what is me'abinotam exactly. Okay, in the Gemara. The people that sell, whether it's fruits, right, or suit clothing, kelim and utensils, are allowed to sell it privately on tzorech hamoed. Hatzayadin, the ones which are trappers, the ones who are hunters, the shashot, or the ones which they do the crushing and the threshing, v'agrasot, and the ones that are grinding, right? They're allowed to do it privately in tzorech hamoed. Rabbi Yosef says, right, which means that these people, they came and they were machmir on themselves. Says the Gemara, right? This is actually a machloke between Rabbi Chia bar Abba and Ravasi, and both of them in the name of Chizkiah and Rabbi Yochanan. Chadamar, one of them says mechapin aklushe. Right? What does that mean? Mechapin aklushe. Me'abin asmuche. So mechapin. There was two different versions is it me'abin or mechapin? So if you say it's mechapin, it means that you're putting on top of the tenim, the figs, a little bit of the givulei kash, which is separated from each other, which is like a very soft cover. It's not a good cover. Ve'ilu me'abin is a smuche. It's mamash like, like a thick cover. So is it a thin cover or a thick cover? Okay, so right here, this is the mechapin. Mechapin is over here, right? Very exactly. The next one is going to be me'avin, a heavier one. Okay, that's the heavy one. You have the heavy one and you have the light one. Okay, fine. Let's continue. So says the Gemara. Okay, one of them says mechapin ben akushe ben asmuche. Mechapin is whether it's a light one or a heavy one, and me'abin is osinoto kemin keri. You're going to make it like a keri, like a pillow. Like a pillow, right? That's what you see, like a pile. Here it is, this picture. Oops, right here, right? Kemin keri. You're making it like a pile. Okay, fine. So says now the Gemara. Tanya Mihachi, we also learned in a Braita. Okay, me'abin osinoto kemin keri divre Yehuda. Next, 2 dots. Mochrek perot kesut vechelim mochrim betzina. So we're going to ask the following question. What they were machmin that they don't sell, the law of the cloud that they don't sell at all on Chol Moed, right? All these people, whether it's the fruits or the clothing or utensils, or maybe they would do it betzina. That's a pshat. Okay? So he says, Tashema, we just said that you're allowed to sell it betzina l'tzorech moed. Rabbi Yosef Omer, they would be machmin, they wouldn't sell it at all. Right? The ones which are trapping, whether it's birds, fish, they would trap betzina l'tzorech moed. Rabbi Yosef says, they wouldn't trap at all. One of the ones which were grinding, the threshing of the grain, and the doshim betzina, the tzorech moed. Rabbi Yosef says they wouldn't do it at all. So you see from here that when it says the mechimino letzman was not just stam they would do betzina. Was they wouldn't do it at all whatsoever. They wouldn't do it. Okay. Amar Abaye says chilka, which are garinet tivua. We're talking about kernels of wheat, of grain. Chada letarte, right? Each they would come and they would crush them 1 to 2. Tragis, which are garinim, you would do it chada titplat, is 1 to 3. Tisane is chada larba. You do 1 to 4. Let's see here if we have a picture also as well. Okay, so basically it depends on just how much are you going to come and you're going to crush, right? Whether it's going to be 1 into 2, 1 into 3, 1 into 4. Kiata Rav Dimi, when Rav Dimi came in, he said, Amar kumta, that's kusemet, it's spelt. So matevei, they're going to ask the following question, Chilka trigivet tiseret mean michol makom. We just said Chilka tragis tiseret to mean in any place, whether it's in the cities or in the villages. Why? Because for sure water came onto it and it became susceptible for tumah. Remember, in order for something to become tumah, tameh, it has to have water to come to it to become susceptible for tumah. So Bishba Lamadamar is good. 1 to 2, 3 or 4. Because then it's going to be tameh. All the places need kashur. Because then it's going to be susceptible for tumah. According to the mandamar that it's spelled, why is it going to become tameh in any place? He says, it didn't become susceptible for tumah. So answers the Gemara, he says, for example, it was kaluf, it was peeled. Because if it wasn't going to be permitted in the water, so then it wouldn't have been mitkalef, it wouldn't have been peeled. So why are you calling it chilka then? Because when you're going to take away the klipa, it becomes very halak, very smooth. Okay, so matevei, they're going to ask the following question. I know that means a dagan, if somebody's going to make a neder, that he prohibits on himself any type of dagan, any type of grains, it's going to be prohibited even in beans, in Egyptian beans, right? Because that's also considered a dagan. But it's going to be permitted in anything which is going to be moist. Is going to be permitted in rice. So Bishman the man is good according to the man that it's 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4 shapir, then it's going to be good because then it's not dagan anymore. Dagan is something we considered grain. But according to the man kunta that it's spelt, the gaman spelt is grain. Spelt is one of the 5 grains. So what are you talking about then? Kashi, it's a good question. It's a good question. So we don't want to say that it's going to be great. It's going to be spelt. Rav Huna, Shara lehu le'anau krufyata lemeiza lezabune ki or chayu beshuka. So Rav Huna, he permitted these sochret tavlin, these spice sellers, right, to come and to sell normally on Chol Moed. So Etvi Rav Kana comes and he asks, Chanut b'tuchal listav potech v'noel. So 1 second, when you have a chanut, a store which is going to be open, okay, and it's going to be open to these different places, So he says, potech v'noel, you're allowed to come and you're allowed to open up kedarko. But if it's going to be open to the Reshut Rabin, you have to open one door and close the other door. Why? Because then it's considered b'tzina. Meaning, if usually you open up in 2 doors, you can only open up 1 door. If anyway you're opening up on the side to the stub, right? That's what it means. That it's like, to the safsalim, whatever it is. So then, right, you're allowed to actually come and open it like normal. Erev Yom Tov Acharon Shel Chag, Erev Yom Tov Acharon, which is Shemini Atzeret, Motziu Me'ateret Shukei Hayir Beperot. He used to come and he used to put fruits all over the cities, everything. Why? Bishul Kavod Yom Tov Acharon, because Shemini Atzeret. Says the Gemara, says what? Only mutar limkor because of Yom Tov Acharon and not on Chol Moed? What's going on? La Kashya is not a question. The first one that we're talking about Sin'ah is talking about Chol Moed. We're talking about perot, and therefore they used to sell it for a very long time. So if you're going to sell it publicly, so they're going to say, listen, it's not for the Moed. It's just I'm selling fruits. But if it's tavlinin, tavlinin was for the same moment. They wouldn't sell tavlinin for such a long time. The spices, they go bad after a while. So therefore, they had to buy them fresh. So therefore, they were able to sell on the same time, and there would be no problem. We continue Bezrat Hashem tomorrow.